The Celtics take care of the Sixers in game one of the playoffs. Not a pretty sight for our old friend Al Horford. I'm Sarah Goodwill here with the whole gang, Nick Gelso, Cedric, Maxwell, Josue Pavon. It looked like Al Horford was definitely getting a little frustrated at times in that game one. We saw it in the flagrant one against Jaylen when he just got beat. And what was it like, do you think, from Horford's perspective, just knowing that the situation with the Celtics is in such a better place than it is with the Sixers?
You got to throw that to Max. He's been there.
You know what? It's hard to feel bad for him but I do.
Is it $100 million reason?
He leads a team like Boston. He signed a long-term deal, which nobody in their right mind would turn down. But at the same time, the 76ers don't look like they've had any plans to use Al. and that's the biggest thing. If I'm going to spend $100 million, damn it, I'm using you. I can tell you that right now.
I have a plan.
Yeah,
I'm with Max. It's almost like they spent all that money just to get him out of Boston.
They did.
Like, okay, now we can get through the Celtics. And then Simmons goes down.
Yeah, if you look at him, what he does, Al loves to be on the post. Several times he was down on the post. Joel Embiid comes down and, dude, get the hell out of here. This is my area. So Al's wheelhouse, his little, almost like a hermit crab when, he has a shell and then somebody else comes in and takes that shell. Well, that's what happened. Al's pushed out of that shell and he's out there trying to find a niche to do anything. There was one time in the game that Al seemed to be excited. He had a great putback, and I think that put the Sixers up, and he yelled over at the bench, and they yelled back at him. I was excited to see that for him, but it was just few and far between.
Yeah, it's never a good thing when you're signing a player to an older player to get rid of them and off the opponent, your rival's team. I know I'm going to take a beating because Sixers fans were hitting me up through the last couple weeks saying, Al Horford, this, that, and I'm saying to them, yeah, playoff Al's going to show up. Playoff Al's going to show up because we went through those stints. Celtics fans on Twitter, Lou Merlone, right? There would be all these talk all season long, and then Al would show up. Well, I think he showed up tonight, but again, like Max said, they didn't have a plan for him. We talk about the post. How about let him handle the ball a little? He's great at initiating the offense. You just lost Ben Simmons. Put the ball in Al's hands.
Yeah,
let him and Embiid work a two-man game. That doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, but Nick, I feel like you saw some of that out of the gate. You saw
out of the gate, you did
8, 9 straight, or at least it felt like it, straight offensive possessions. Well, he had the ball in his hand. You saw a classic Al, top of the key, dumping it down low to Melton or another, a Richardson. They did a really good job executing those backdoor cuts. The Celtics counter, and all of a sudden they just threw that game plan to the wayside, or Brett Brown did, or whether it was a matter of let's get more open shot for our shooters, or Al Burks really started to get going, and then they started getting to Joel Embiid. They just shied away from that game play. But you did see it in the first quarter.
You did. Well, it was almost as if the coach, Brett Brown, put it together, and then they just abandoned it midway through. Right. It seemed that way, or not even midway through the first quarter, maybe.
If Brett Brown does not get his team to play, up to speed, I think he won't have a job.
I'm shocked he does.
Might even be forced now to think about what they would do with Embiid and Simmons. Can they play them together? Tobias Harris has a long-term deal. Mm-hmm. So can you keep all three of those guys the way the game is played? It's a fast-paced running pickup and that. And part of that, they don't have that if they have those three guys in the game together.
Well, let me ask you this, Max, real quick. Without Ben Simmons, obviously, that's a huge part, especially to their defense. Do you think that injury saves Brett Brown's job in some sense? Do they give it one more crack next year?
Let me say this, my friend. Let me say this like we say someplace else. Adios, amigos. Okay? I think that's what it's going to be. I can't see him. If they lose in this series, they've already always said that his job was in jeopardy. He can lay on the excuse, well, I didn't have Simmons. Well, you've had Simmons in the last couple of years, and look at what you did this year with Simmons. You had Simmons. You had this team. This was an ugly team. They played great at home, but they were ugly team on the road. They did not play well on the road.
Yeah, they couldn't stay on top of the Eastern Conference either. They couldn't stay in one of those top 3 slots.
Definitely a team that probably struggles from this bubble environment the most because of how much they thrive.
They don't like each other, Sierra.
Yeah. Because of how much they thrive.
Wait, Sierra, could you imagine last year's Celtics team in the bubble?
Oh.
They would have killed. That would have been a reality show.
Oh,
I wish we would have been. I would have been. I would have paid, gone to see it.
Yes, someone would have opted out halfway through the draft. It would have been a whole situation. But Joel Embiid definitely also a guy who just like loves the juice of his adoring fans. So we'll see what happens when things are starting to go awry for the Sixers in this series, and there's no one there to pick them up in the crowds. But we'll keep you updated on this entire series, the Celtics postseason run, on our website at clnsmedia.com and on our YouTube channel at Celtics All Access.